Hey everybody that's joining so far. We're starting a little bit early, but we're waiting on the guys from HEADstrong. First, we're going to be talking with Jeff Baxter. He's kind of running the Go Lime campaign. So we're going to be starting this up in about 3 minutes or so when they join. And then after we talk with Jeff, we're actually going to be talking with Dawson Allen. He is a former player at Florida State University. So actually, we look like HEADstrong has joined. Just waiting for them to join now. Thanks for everybody for coming tonight. Hey Jeff, how you doing?
How are you guys?
Good.
Hey Mike, how are you?
I'm good. This is the first time we've actually seen each other face to face after talking on the phone a few times. So.
Yeah, technology, right?
Yeah, I know. It's always kind of funny whenever actually first time you see someone that you've spoken to. I guess we've been talking for not quite a year, but for a while so far.
Yeah, we're really appreciative of your platform to let us know and let others know about what we're doing out in the lacrosse community. A lot of people know of HEADstrong just from the lime green and you know, our past involvement with the sport, but to get a new crop of individuals involved with the mission that we do, and you know, Nick Calalori, our founder's vision of you know, using athletes' platform for good. You know, that's why we kind of designed this program for athletes. A lot of the people that work at HEADstrong are former college athletes, and you know, we have a good perspective on, you know, what an athlete goes through on a daily basis in school, in high school, college, and so it's kind of we put this together to really help the student athlete in multiple facets. So happy to ask any questions that you have on the program.
Yeah, so we're going to give it another couple minutes. We have a bunch of people joining. We told everybody 6 o'clock Eastern, so we're a little bit early. So welcome everybody who's joining. We're really excited to have you guys on and talk about this. You know, this is obviously, you can see I'm wearing my HEADstrong shirt today in support. So this was something that's very important to me. And Jeff, of course you got to wear yours too. So, you know.
Ask me about how you can be HEADstrong.
Exactly. So, you know, I'm very excited about this. And obviously, I think when you approached me, I don't remember what it was. It was maybe at the end of last season.
Yeah, it was last year.
It was one of those, it just seems like such a natural fit for what I do at LaxRecords, considering I track player statistics and history. And it for me, it was a no-brainer. Whenever you mentioned it, it was one of those things that probably one of the easiest decisions I've ever made. So I was like, yep, whatever you guys need, happy to do it. So for all the people that are joining right now, kind of what we're going to have here is we're with Jeff Baxter with HEADstrong right now, and then we're going to ask him a few questions. And then once we're done with him, Dawson Allen, a former Florida State lacrosse player who was participating in the campaign last year, he is going to join us. So there's going to be a little bit of a gap. After Jeff logs off, Dawson's going to log on. So you'll stick around. You'll just be looking at my face at that point in time. So I'll just kind of ramble on. If anybody has any questions during the live stream, I will try to see them as best I can. Getting older, so the eyes aren't quite as good, but I'm sitting pretty close to the phone, so I should be able to see the questions and ask them. If you have any for me, for Jeff, or for Dawson, whatever you got. So, Jeff, why don't we just go ahead and get started? First of all, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience just a little bit? Tell us who you are.
Okay, well, I'm the Director of Fundraising and Community Engagement at the HEADstrong Foundation. I've been here for over a year and a half now, but I've known of the HEADstrong Foundation since 2006 when it started. You know, Nick Calalori, the founder, grew up, played lacrosse the next town over from where I live and grew up. I grew up in Springfield, Pennsylvania, Delaware County, southeastern PA. Nick was from Ridley High School. You know, myself, I played Division I lacrosse at St. Joe's University, where I played crease attack for the Hawks. And, you know, I've been involved with lacrosse ever since graduating with a degree in marketing. I also have a degree in sports management. I've run lacrosse tournaments, coached many different levels of lacrosse, from youth to girls to international. And I also have a connection to cancer and fundraising. I lost my mom when I was 19 as a sophomore at St. Joe's. It was one of the toughest things ever happened in my life, and that's kind of why I work at HEADstrong. I get to use my skill set as a sport management major and marketing background to help others, and it's really cool that I can do it through a lot of times through the sport of lacrosse, because of our involvement in the community. So I really love working for the foundation. I was actually out this Sunday morning and afternoon. We were marking off 2 5Ks for the fall and the spring that we're putting on. So we do a lot of different things here at HEADstrong. We just kicked off a large campaign for women's lacrosse called Game Hair Havoc. In a short week, we probably raised about $30,000 already. Our goal is $100,000 in its first year. We had over 250,000 page views on Instagram over the last few days.
Wow.
So that's pretty amazing. And I know we've gotten several thousand followers in the last couple of days. So hopefully we get traction on this video, so people, maybe new to HEADstrong, get to learn a little bit more about Nick and what we do at the foundation.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the comment. Nick's mom apparently has joined us, so I want to give a shout out to her and thank her for joining us as well. I guess I should let people know a little bit about who I am as well. I'm Mike Loveday. I am the founder and director of LaxRecords.com. What I do is I basically have taken on the task of kind of digitizing the history of boys high school lacrosse. I used to work at ESPN from about 2007, 2008 to about 2012. And this was one of those things. I was in charge of their high school lacrosse website. Kind of weaseled my way into it. I was supposed to do that part-time, but I found such a passion for it that I ended up making it a full-time job. And part of what I was doing is I was just kind of tracking down stats and history and things like that. And then when obviously everybody's well aware of the ESPN layoffs, when that kind of happened, I decided I was going to start the records part of LaxRecords.com. So I found that in 2014. So, and then for me, this was kind of a no-brainer. I just recently lost my dad to cancer. He passed away just after the new year. So, and this is one of those things that I told Jeff before we started live, that whenever he mentioned this to me last year, we had known then that my dad had cancer, and he was given 6 to 8 months, and we got him for over 2 years. So it was one of those things that was obviously very difficult. But this, for me, anything I can do to kind of help HEADstrong out and get the word out is really important to me, and trying to help you guys make sure you raise as much money, because what you do, my dad was a veteran, and I got to stay at a place called Fisher House, which is a pretty similar thing to Nick's house that you guys do. And for me, it was such a big deal because when my dad was in the hospital having his kidney removed, I was able to be, just right across the street and walk over as often as I want. So what you guys do at HEADstrong is extremely important to the families and everybody who is affected by it. And, like I said, anything I can do to help. So we're hoping this kind of gets some traction and more athletes will pledge their season. And I'm doing my part by any of the players that let me know, and I actually received a couple today. I know we emailed a few of them over the past weekend. I've received a few more submissions today, and I think from the ones that I have, they've raised almost $6,000 and I think that's with like 5 or 6 kids. So we have quite a bit of traction already. So going to just try to keep getting that number up and increase that over the 2019 season.
Yeah, I would, if you wouldn't mind giving me a PSA moment for right now. I kind of want to tell a little bit about HEADstrong and how it got started quickly. And so, HEADstrong was founded by Nick Calaluri, 19-year-old lacrosse player at Hofstra University, was just an all-around All-American kid from Ridley, Pennsylvania, won 3 state championships while he was in high school. He was a wrestler, a lacrosse player, a football player. He was good at like every sport he ever did, and just people gravitated towards him. And, he went to Hofstra. He played all 16 games as a freshman, just a grinder. And, his younger brother followed him to Hofstra as well, Michael. And in the fall of his sophomore year, he got news that he got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And only was really given, it was very aggressive cancer. He was only given about 14 months to live, and you know, he battled through the time frame, and then he put the framework together for Headstrong while in the hospital. You know, he saw what normal families go through financially, and you know, whether it was the meals in the hospital, the chairs that your parents get to sit in while you're there, or family members get to sit in while they're there. That, you know, just being, people are just bored being in the hospital, so we provide entertainment. Nick's house that you highlighted earlier, is his family had to go down to Bethesda, Maryland, and relocate for a bit to try and save his life with a specialized treatment. So everything we do at Headstrong has to do with the Kalor's experience with cancer and what they went through, and what basically, you know, Nick left this legacy to his family to, you know, move on and try to move on and kind of, you know, keep his foundation that he put the framework together going. Yeah. Since inception, we've raised over $15 million. We've served over 15,000 families across the country. You know, just today I was at Nick's house. Nick's house is a residence set up for families that have to travel to Philadelphia. Philadelphia has several world-class hospitals here. People are coming from all over the country to get specialized treatment. I just met a family today from Alabama. Their 22-month-old son is going through treatment at CHOP. He has to be an outpatient, so they had to find housing for, you know, 3 months at a time. And so they moved in Swarthmore, PA, at Nick's house, and they're doing well. Meshed in with 4 or 5 other families that are there as well. One family from South Carolina, one family from North Jersey. It's usually families that are from at least an hour and a half away from the hospital. It makes it difficult for them to travel. So that's kind of what our main service offering is Nick's house. But then we also have ancillary services like feeding folks at the hospital at UPenn and CHOP. And we also do financial assistance grants for families affected with a cancer diagnosis, whether they're out of work and they need to pay their mortgage. We can support them in that regard. We also have a head table and head-to-head program, where head-to-head is basically we'll provide a peer mentorship program for somebody that has a diagnosis. We'll connect them up with somebody that has a similar diagnosis. So a lot going on. You know, it's thanks to the family, the Kalori family really, you know, put their love, heart, and sweat into this foundation, and, you know, has grown year over year. And thanks to the lacrosse community for supporting us to keep it going. And this is just one program and one campaign that we're trying to, you know, really come up with. We try and make fun, interactive campaigns, whether it's Lax-Madness, Game Hair Havoc. Our Go Line program is basically using your stats for good. I always say you can be a hero running off the field. So I'd love to get some questions. What do you got for me?
Yeah, I don't know if this is for you, but Dylan Preo 6, he asked, what is the nominations that people are putting on their Instagram story? Is that something you know about?
Yeah, of course, Dylan. We've got this great campaign started by Steph Finley. She's currently going through a cancer treatment for a rare disease, cancer called Cordova, and 1 in a million is this cancer diagnosis. And you know, Steph is a former lacrosse player at JMU. She was on the team. She was on Team USA, Team STX. And she came to us and said, I want to get the, you know, awareness out in the community, help fundraise for what you guys are doing. She's right now fighting her battle, but at the same time, she's gathering and getting awareness with it primarily in women's lacrosse, but we've got tons of guys doing it too, because guys love, you know, growing their hair out the back of their helmet, and they're showing it off. So the nominations are basically like, you know, you're showing your game hair, because, you know, girls like to braid their hair when they play to keep their hair out of their goggles. Yeah. So we came up with this idea because we have a brother campaign called Lax-Madness in the fall, where last year we raised $275,000 in a month with college lacrosse players growing a mustache. Yeah. So it's kind of you know, with Game Hair Havoc is like helping girls that might necessarily lose their hair because of the effects of chemotherapy, and the girls on the lacrosse field are kind of celebrating a cultural thing that they already do in the game of girls lacrosse. Yeah. They wear bows, they wear all sorts of stuff in their hair, they have these crazy braids, and so basically they're showing off their crazy braids and hairstyles during the game, and they're posting it and nominating other players across the country to help spread the awareness of what's going on. So it's really cool to see a bunch of guys out there. We actually saw a bunch of different sports taking advantage of it too. I mean, we started in lacrosse, but we don't care what sport you play. It all benefits people here, affected with the disease.
Right. And you mentioned one of the campaigns, and that's the one that I'm kind of helping you guys out with, is I guess Go Lyme is the overarching one, but it's to Pledge It. Can you kind of describe a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so Go Lyme, we have two kind of ways that you can help in Go Lyme. You can actually pledge a game with your team where you do an awareness game. A lot of college teams do for us. And then we also have this other facet that we started last year called Go Lyme, where you can pledge your stats. So Go Lyme is you literally can pledge any stat, any sport, any level. And, we do have some other spin-off campaigns like Face Off Against Cancer and Save a Life. All that basically is just geared towards those two specific specialized positions. Right. And Pledge It has kind of made the sign up a little quicker by filling out a lot of the fields pre-filled. Yeah. But it's no different than the other people that are doing Go Lyme. Last year we had about 40 student athletes do it, and my goal is to get 100 this year. I really think it's got a lot of legs because I actually did this program at another foundation where I partnered with field goal kickers, and we raised $500,000 within a year with 150 kickers. So you think of the lacrosse community, what we could do, and it's just what's cool about it. It gives a player an opportunity to play on the field and do their community service at the same time. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because I had a father last year, Anthony Tadero's father, John. Anthony plays in North Carolina. He was 15 at the time, and John said, what my son got out of the program was probably more than what HEADstrong did. Anthony was out talking to people about HEADstrong. It's, bringing awareness to what he was doing. He's out talking to adults where the guy's only a sophomore in high school. You give you public speaking skills, you give marketing skills. Obviously, everybody in this age range is very astute at social media. Gives them a chance to do something like this, where this is the first time I've ever done a Instagram live feed video with two people. So it's really cool. We have a current guy, James Sapalo from the Lehigh Valley. He's the Lehigh Valley MVP last year. He scored over 120 points, and his page is amazing. Like he did his own video where he talks about a personalized story from his mother having cancer. And kind of brings it back. Like, this is why I'm doing it. Yeah. This is what I'm going to do. He's a commit. He's going to Ohio State next year. Like, it's not like he's doing it to kind of shine. Like, he's already committed to college, right? Yeah. So he's doing it because he wants to help his community. And it's really great to see young student athletes do it. It could be male, female, it doesn't matter. So. Yeah, and I have questions here, but we had Haley 617. If I mispronounce your handle, I'm sorry. But she asked, do you need to be a certain age or have a certain kind of cancer? No, HEADstrong, we decided several years ago, we initially were supporting a lot of blood cancer efforts because Nick had a type of blood cancer, but we decided to go with more of a broad approach where we don't really pick any specific cancer and any age. So like Nick's house, for instance, we have a 22-month-old staying there with his parents, but we also have a 60-year-old staying there as well. So, like, we don't just do pediatric cancer or adolescent cancer or adult cancer. It's any cancer. We've seen brain cancer, breast cancer, base of the tongue cancer. Like, what happens is usually in the charity world, there's a problem. There's a social problem happening, and the charity usually tries to answer that social problem. So in Philadelphia right now, there's just for one hospital, University of Penn, they get over 200 families a month that have to come and stay in Philadelphia for cancer care. So we look at Nick's house as, we're trying to do our best to help. Right now we can help 6 families at a time. Yeah. We can save a family $10,000 to $15,000 in hotel costs, not to mention other incidental costs of travel, food, because when you're living out of a hotel room, you're eating poorly. Yep. Your loved ones stay. What's cool about our house, the caregivers and the patients, they're together with like a mini family, and it's like a team. A lot of us are former athletes. A lot of it is based on the team, and so is Nick's house. You got 6 families from 6 different parts of the country. They don't know anybody. They're new to Philadelphia. they come here for treatment, and they're kind of like helping each other through the process.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the beautiful part about it. I talked to somebody this morning about it. He said out of everything, that is, I mean, the house is gorgeous and it's beautiful, but like he said, what really affects him the most is having somebody to, bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
And hey, this is what I'm going through right now. What are you going through? What's your treatment like? You know, how are you handling being away from your family or from your loved ones? You know what I mean? So it's really cool what we have going on there.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out. It looks like you mentioned Anthony Tadaro. If I mispronounced your name again, I'm sorry, but it looks like he left a comment saying, "HEADstrong was one of the best things I've ever been a part of." He says he learned so much doing something for a great cause. He was able to come to Nick's house to see what this is going for is amazing. So, Anthony, thank you so much. I know I actually just talked about you on the podcast that I did yesterday with a guy from North Carolina. So I was already aware of him, but this is that much more that he's willing to kind of pledge his season for such a fantastic cause.
Just to kind of get Anthony, I have to give him props. I mean, he came to Nick's house when he was playing at a tournament in Philadelphia. He came with his mom, called me up. He said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Philadelphia area. Can I swing by and see where my efforts went?" He got to tour our operation and see what was going on. He was a sophomore last year. He scored, I think, 7 points in his quote me if I'm wrong, Anthony. It was either 7 or 11 points in his state championship game where he got MVP, and then he turned and got a humanitarian award from his school district.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not going to happen to everybody, but like, you get rewarded for some things you do in life, and like I think, and I'm sure Anthony's not doing it for the rewards, but you really get. He's got a good head on his shoulders. Yeah. It's awesome.
He says it's 11. It was 11 points.
Maybe it's because of 7-Eleven. I was like thinking, whatever.
There you go. Connects.
Apologies.
So, I know we got Dawson, who's going to be waiting too, but I have a couple other questions. So what do players need to do to get started with this?
So basically, there's you can go to the link golineforcancer.org, and there's a page where it's kind of a landing page where you'll see you can fundraise for HEADstrong 3 ways: as a team, as an individual, or as a business. Mm-hmm. If you go to the individual link and click there, it will take you to our Pledge It page. So Pledge It is the platform that allows us to do this. It's a third-party fundraising platform that we've partnered with. They have a really unique platform, really easy to use. You'll land on Go Line for Cancer, and if you're a face-off specialist or if you're a goalie, there are ways to direct you to Save a Life and Face Off Against Cancer. I can fix it on the back end if you end up signing up under Go Line and you're a goalie. Mm-hmm. So it's nothing to really be worried about. But you go on, it's pretty easy. You click in, and it basically gives you a step-by-step thing. It's a template. So you put in a picture of yourself, a high-res picture. You give yourself a title. You do a little write-up. We already provide a default, already pre-written write-up, but if somebody wants to say, hey, my mother passed away, this season, or my neighbor or somebody on my team's family member, you can kind of say who you're doing it for, and that usually is very good because people want to know the person. People raise money for people, not foundations. So, when you start telling a personal story, your networks get impacted by it, and so they want to help you help others, right? So you can put in a nice personal story. You can add a video. I know James, if you go on there, he's a great example. James Sapolo, he did a video with his cell phone, uploaded it to YouTube, and it linked it right to his page. And then basically, once that page is created, you put all your games in. You can either do it 2 ways. You can do it by game, or you can do it by month. So if you want to do it for your club season and you want it to go through the summer, you just say all the goals in April, all the goals in May, all the goals in June, all the goals in July.
Yeah.
So it's really up to you how long you want to keep the campaign going, and then you share it through social media and you share it through emails to friends and family. It's pretty amazing what can happen. I mean, I keep talking about James. He's raised, I think, $3,000 already, and the season hasn't even started. Now, a lot of that money is based on his performance. I believe he's pledging his points. I think because there's two ways you can donate. You can just donate a flat donation, or somebody can say, hey, I want to pledge $1 for every goal you score or every save you make. So it's pretty interesting. And like once you sign up, Pledge It and Headstrong provides some support through email, and we also provide incentives. So when you sign up, we send you a pair of lime green laces, some like helmet stickers or armbands, wristbands, lanyard, like some stuff to rep Headstrong.
Right.
And as you go up in your fundraising, we provide more and more incentives, whether it's a sweatshirt, a String King head, you know, some swag from Headstrong, because we want the people to rep Headstrong and what they're working towards. So.
And obviously, the more visual you make it, makes people, you know, maybe like, oh, what's that? You know, what is that? And it gets them asking questions. And then
why is he wearing lime green laces?
Yeah.
You know.
And then it gives the athlete the opportunity to tell people why they're doing it and explain to them what they're doing for their season. So, you know, it's a visual thing. Like people might wonder what this is, but like, what is it? And that's really all it takes to kind of get you started. John Laxrod wants a shout out, so we'll give him a shout out. So, you know, pledge your season.
Well, one story I got to tell is Tyler Collins. He was our top youth player. He raised over $3,000 at face-offs. And if you go on his page and you see one of his games, he won like 11 face-offs. He raised $500 in one game.
Wow.
His dad told me a story about this game where other parents were like giving him money at the game because they were like, wow, this is amazing. Like, this is from the other team. Yeah. They would go on the website, pledge him, hand Mr. Collins a donation, and it was amazing. Like, he was the top fundraiser as a youth player. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you're high school, youth, college. There are some NCAA compliance rules that we have to work through if you're a college player and want to do it. You got to do it as a team, not as an individual.
Yeah.
But we've had people do that. You know, we've had like face-off crews do it, or an attack line do it, or a whole team do it. Like I had a soccer team last year, St. Joe's University. They pledged all their goals for their season. So.
All right, that's fantastic. And what I'm doing from my end, I'm actually collecting so all the high school players that are doing this, like I'm actually collecting them on the one page. So if you go to LaxRecords.com, you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see the Headstrong logo. If you click on that, actually I have a list of all the players that I'm aware of. Like I said, I got a couple more just before we logged on that are doing it as well, so I'll be adding them. And the Headstrong logo beside each of their names takes you to their Pledge It page. So it's just another way that we can kind of, and I'm doing a social media push for all the players that are getting added and stuff like that, and I'll be updating their stats as I'm able to throughout the season. So to try to give these players just that extra little push, anything extra we can do to kind of bring some notification on what they're doing and let people know and kind of keep, because for me, no matter what their season is like, no matter what their stats are like, what they're doing for this it overshadows that. It's beyond whatever they do for their season. When they score 100 goals, they score 10. To me, like what they're doing for the fundraising is the most important thing they're going to do this year.
Yeah, I think they get a lot out of it. I mean, Anthony can speak to it from his post, what he got out of it, and you know, it's a great opportunity to use the platform that you're on. You're a star player. You're the face-off specialist. You're the goalie. You're the star attackman. Yeah. I mean, when I was 19 and I lost my mom to cancer, I think I would have been the first person in line to do a program like this because, you know, just letting people know like that what our youth are doing in a positive manner.
Yeah.
Out there, you always hear all these negative things about, you know, what our youth do, and you know, it's usually a small percentage, right? And so like we gotta celebrate what our high school athletes are doing in a positive manner. So we're just kind of giving an avenue for folks to do that.
Yeah, and I'm all about the positive on social media. There's enough negativity out there, so like that's what I'm trying to do is bring the positivity to everybody. Jeff, I know we got Dawson. He's probably chomping at the bit, so
yes.
I'm gonna let you log off, and I'll just kind of talk. If anybody has any questions,
thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. So if anybody has any questions they want to ask me, I'll do my best to answer them while we wait for Dawson to log on. It should only be like maybe a minute or two. Just for anybody who may be joining us recently, is that what we're doing is Go Lime, or Headstrong is doing their Go Lime campaign. They're letting players basically pledge their 2019 season to Headstrong. So players, you can donate I don't think there's any limit on the amount of donation, but $1 for every point you score in the season, and then they raise that money for the season. And so what I'm doing is actually LaxRecords is actually going to sorry, I'm looking at the different requests that I'm getting here, trying to see if anybody has any questions. I'm gonna LaxRecords.com. I'm gonna donate $1 for every point that the nation's leading scorer scores for the 2019 season. So whether that player is actually a part of the Go Line Foundation or not, it's irrelevant. I'm going to actually donate that money to HEADstrong because I believe it's such a fantastic cause going here. So we're just kind of waiting on Dawson Allen. He was a former player at Florida State. He played lacrosse at Florida State, and he was part of the campaign in 2018, last season. We actually got to talk to him a little while ago, and he had a very interesting story. And what he's going to do is he's going to kind of share the inspiration on why he joined the Pledge It campaign. In addition to we want the players out there. So if any of the young guys out there are wondering, like, how do you get started? Like, maybe you don't know anything about raising money. I know I don't. We're hoping Dawson will be able to answer some of those questions. So basically, he's going to kind of go through the process of what he did and how he went about it, who he reached out to. So we're going to try to answer some of those questions for you. But if you have any questions, just let me know. And actually, it looks like HEADstrong is ready to go. So let's see if we can invite them. So I just sent Dawson, I just sent you the invite, so it should pop up on your screen here any minute now. So like I said, if anybody has any questions, just let me know. We'll do our best to get to them. I know a few of you had questions. Hopefully we answered them. If we did not, you can message me at mloveday@laxrecords.com. You can go to laxrecords.com. There's a contact me thing there as well. Dawson, I'm not sure if you got the invite. Let me see if I can send it again. Compelling live video for everyone there. They're just kind of doing this. Someone, what type of bear is best? We'll see if he can answer that question for you. Gotta love live video. You get this is the beauty of live videos. You get to see all the pain points that you get with this as well. So let me see, go live with HEADstrong Foundation. Let's try this. I'm just waiting for Dawson. So anybody who's joining late, I'm actually going to have this live video. We're going to pin it to the top of the LaxRecords profile page. So you better watch the whole thing. We talked with Jeff Baxter in the first half, and now we're here with Dawson Allen. Dawson, welcome to the live stream.
Hey, Mike. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, so I don't know if this is pertinent to you. Maybe this is a friend of yours, but someone wants to know what time of bear is best. I don't know if that's inside joke or do you have an opinion?
I'm going to have to say black bear there. Next question.
There you go. Next question. All right, so why don't we just kind of kick it off with let people know, first of all, a little bit about you, like who you are and what's going on.
Yeah, so my name is Dawson Allen. I am 23 years old, recent graduate of Florida State University, played lacrosse there, finished up there May of 2018. Yeah, currently working on my master's at Vanderbilt. Got married in May. So that's kind of what's going on in life right now for me.
Had quite a year. Congratulations. I know we talked earlier, so congratulations again on the wedding. I got married in October, so we're both still you can consider still newlyweds at this point in time. So, since I run a high school site, I gotta ask, like, what high school did you go to?
Yeah, so I graduated from Calvary Christian, small private school down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was a first year program, and proud to say that they've been growing steadily and improving since then. So
yeah. So how did you kind of get involved? Like, first of all, how did you find out about HEADstrong and the Pledge the Go Line campaign?
Yeah, so the timeline was actually kind of crazy. So my mom passed away of cancer February 2nd of 2018, and I was actually the president of FSU's club team, and I got an email from Jeff that was just addressed to the president email there, and it just said, hey, if y'all are interested in you know, ordering some gear, pledging a game, anything like that, let me know. So I reached out to Jeff personally and said, hey man, you know, that's crazy. This just happened to me. I'm just getting back to campus now, and I'm trying to get back in the swing of things with season and all that. So that's how I got involved, and he told me about the Pledge It opportunity, and I thought, you know, what a great way to kind of repurpose something that was pretty difficult and try and raise some awareness and benefit some other people who are going through similar stuff.
Yeah. So did you have any previous like experience with like fundraising or anything like that before you started this?
So I'd had some experience just working on kind of the administrative side with the club program at FSU, but none that I had done personally myself. So this was kind of a first for me in the way stepping out individually and asking for support and really trying to stand behind something that I really believed in.
Yeah. So what was the challenging part about that and getting started?
Oh man, I mean, I think it's scary because it's vulnerable, you know. I think sometimes it's easier to not want to talk about it or act like it doesn't affect, you know, how you think about the game or what it's like to be on the field or to show up at practice, and you know, not just to put it out there, but then to kind of call attention to it and go, hey, you know, this is something that happened, and it's hard to walk through, and you know, how can we spin this and try and help people, you know, that are walking through something difficult. So I would say the vulnerability is kind of intimidating at first, but I think the fruit in the end, by far, you know, kind of outweighs that early bit of intimidation and stuff like that.
Yeah. So what was the fundraising like? How did you start? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have no experience, and that I'm sure that just talking about it is hard enough, but then like, where do you even start? Like, how do you even start raising money? Like, how did you kind of start that process? Like, where did you go to first, and how did it grow?
Yeah, I was really fortunate just to have my friends and family, people that were kind of immediately around me, that were willing to share on social media, whether it was Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you know, all my teammates and stuff at FSU that were, you know, had accounts and stuff like that, that represented the team. They were super great about getting it out there and sharing, you know, as well as my friends that weren't in the lacrosse community, you know, my wife, all her friends, then my community back home. So I just started reaching out to people that I trusted, you know, and started there, and it kind of snowballed.
Yeah. So it sounds like just kind of use your network. So for anybody, like you're not really, you didn't really do it alone. Like your teammates and your friends and family, they chipped in and helped. So it wasn't just you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that helps too, because, you know, it can feel like a pretty isolating time. So to reach out and be in community with people and have kind of this common goal, and the opportunity to share something like that and kind of walk through it together was, I think was really beneficial for me.
Yeah. Now, Jeff told me, I guess, when we were talking about having you on to begin with, I guess your senior year didn't go exactly as you had planned, and this kind of foundation kind of helped kind of I don't know. Why don't you explain it? You can do it better. Tell us how your senior season went.
Yeah, so I mean, it was kind of an up and down year. We had some administrative problems and some things we had to work through. We had a coaching change just before the season, and then another coaching change towards the end of the season. I lost my mom, I want to say just before our first game, and then actually banged up my knee, so missed some time there. So this kind of became like kind of an anchoring point for me. And I think it helped me throughout all of that to kind of remember and have a point of centering, a point of balance to go, you know, hey, there's a lot of stuff going on, but this was a way to kind of come back to centering and remind myself of what matters and what's really important. Kind of see the bigger picture, because it's so easy, to feel like that's all that's going on, and there's nothing nothing good happening or something like that.
Right.
But that was a way to kind of redirect and refocus.
Yeah. So after kind of once you finished rehearsal, I guess we should tell everybody, like, how much did you end up raising, all told?
Yeah, so I think it was just over $3,000 by the end of the season, and that was for pledging points per game.
Okay.
So goals and assists, and just kind of getting people to either make one-time donation, or committing to pledge per point. So
Right.
yeah.
So what would be something you maybe learned throughout the process or by the end of it that maybe an athlete who's just starting out would be worth them knowing? It's always a tough question.
Yeah, no, it is, but I think you would be surprised, like how strong your network is and how strong your community is, because I wouldn't have thought that $3,000 would have come out of this. To me, that's a heck of a lot of money, and when medical bills piling up and travel expenses, like Jeff was explaining, and that sort of thing, anything goes a long way. And I think it really shocked me how responsive and how deep and caring the network really was. How many people would come up to me after the game and go, "Hey, we've heard about the campaign. We see what you're doing. We're sorry for your loss, and we're glad to be more aware of what HEADstrong's doing," and that sort of thing. So I would just encourage people, like, rely on your network and rely on the people that you trust and care about, because they're the people that are going to be walking through it all with you.
Yeah, and I guess there also can be advocates because they know, like, one of those things, like, you stretch out that network, you broaden it beyond what the people that you may know, because they know people, and obviously they know what you're going through and what your family's going through too. So it's not one of those, not a random thing. You're not just donating money to someone. It's someone that you know, and you know what they're going through. And I'm sure it's an easy cause for people to rally around and get behind. Like, it's not something it's not a car or a stereo or something like that. This is something that, it affects people's lives. Did you get in, so for you, like, for HEADstrong, because obviously what you went through, this might not have necessarily, affected you immediately, as far as in terms of, like, the money went to HEADstrong and stuff like that. Like, what does it mean to you to know that you have helped raise money and go to this great cause?
Oh man, that's difficult to put in words.
Yeah.
For anyone who's lost someone, someone that they care about, it's hard to articulate what that experience is like. So to kind of find some redemption and some hope in something that can feel really hopeless, and really difficult, to know that somebody else who's having somewhat of a similar experience is going to have some sort of relief, even if it's just knowing that they don't have to worry about the next meal, or it's taking a piece off a bill. I mean, it's difficult to articulate how meaningful that is, because you just can't imagine a more difficult thing to go through, and to know that there's so many people going through it. Just to kind of make a drop in the bucket and have any sort of impact is incredible to hear and know that that's happening.
Yeah, and I mean, I can speak personally because anybody who joined late, my dad recently passed away from renal cancer, and he was a veteran, so he had to have his kidney removed shortly after he found out his diagnosis. They were giving him 6 to 8 months. We got a little bit more than 2 years. So, but because he was a veteran, I was able to stay at a place called Fisher's House, which is very similar to Nick's house. And what that meant for me is I was able, when he was in the hospital, I was able to be just a little way, literally across the street from him. So, like, I live in Chicago, he lived in Maryland. There was no way I could have done that drive in any way. But I was able to take him to the hospital and stay down. So this kind of thing really means a lot to the people that are on the receiving end of it, and it's hard to articulate how much it actually means to everybody. And it's one of those things, like the people that are affected by your donation, you may never actually see them or meet them, but I'm sure they're appreciative of everything you guys are doing. And for everybody who's donated and going to donate this season, like, it's one of those things, like, you may never meet the people, but they're internally grateful, because I know for me, the people that I've never met or will never get to speak to, like, I'm extremely grateful for what they've done. So Dawson, thank you again, and hopefully people will have found some information that is useful to them. Hopefully we've kind of inspired some people to pledge their season. And I know it's from, since I do a high school site, we're kind of talking to a high school audience, but this is not relegated to just high school or even just boys. It's open to anybody. I know someone asked earlier if we had to have a certain age or specific type of cancer. The answer is no. It's open to really anybody. So if you are inclined, I'll have the if you go to LaxRecords.com, I actually have a link. I know Jeff, and I can't remember the URL he gave, but if you go to LaxRecords.com, you look for the HEADstrong logo. I have a link to the Pledge It page, so you can get started. If you have questions, email me at mloveday@LaxRecords.com, and I'll hook you up with Jeff, and we'll get you started. We want to reduce the amount of barriers that we can as much as possible to kind of get everybody started. So don't hesitate to reach out to anyone. And again, Dawson, thank you very much. I'm sorry about your loss, but also congratulations on the wedding and getting the master's degree. I just finished my master's degree last year, so I know how that process can be. So good luck there as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you having me on.
All right, you have a good one.
Thanks.
All right, everyone, that's going to do it for this Instagram Live. For anybody who joined late and maybe missed the first half, I will pin this to the profile page on LaxRecords.com. I'm actually going to upload it to YouTube, and it'll be on LaxRecords.com later this week as well. So if you have any questions, again, like I said, you can reach out to me at mloveday@LaxRecords.com. I'll put you in touch with Jeff. I have links to the Pledge It pages. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We hope we've inspired some people to go out and pledge their 2019 season for HEADstrong. So everybody, have a great evening.